Well, I did say that this was going to be a big summer at Distillery, and I wasn't wrong. The transfer window so far has seen 12 new first teamers in, albeit a few of those are returning stars. We've also made nearly 500,000 in terms of outs, a few players moving on in the nation, and almost another scrap and falling out with the chairperson. Let's go and have a look at what we've done and get into our first European qualifier. Yes, hello and welcome along to part 116 of Lifting Spirits with me, Daniel. We're back in this Build a Nation save with our focus on our club side for the 13th season. And this one is going to be a huge test because for the first time, the board are saying we've got to win the league title, despite the fact Distillery have not won the last two. And Linfield are going to be formidable opposition again. The nation is strengthening, probably further down the division more than we've ever seen before. And we've had a pretty horrid tie when it comes to Europe for the first qualifier. But the main focus of this episode and the predominant part of the first half of it is going to be dedicated to a lot of transfer work. So let's go over to the transfer screen. We'll start with the players that have left the club. Now at the start of the summer window, it was quite quiet because I was more worried about can we get the players we need in. We were obviously worrying about the World Cup too, but my main priority, let's get the signings and then we can farm the other players off. Even if we have to loan them out, so be it. I've been pleasantly surprised that a few have got big transfers or fairly big fees to go into the nation. And for six-figure fees as well, it does show the ambition of maybe some of the mid-table clubs here or the lower top half clubs. But in terms of outs at the start of the window, only one youngster going to the lower leagues on loan. But this year, well, that has changed dramatically. We start with the usual loans. The first squad player to leave, though, was Jonathan McElhatton. He's gone on loan to Glentoran, who finished mid-table last year. We know he's a great goal scorer. I mean, he scored in the last club episode in the cup final. But it's probably going to be the end of him at this club now. Ethan James went out on loan again, this time to Coleraine. Again, strengthening the nation, giving an opportunity to them. These are players that were 2.5 star for us. They're good Irish League players. Then we get some of the bigger fees. Harley Jones has gone to Larne for 175 grand. He's gone there as a squad player. He's going to be a backup. He wasn't on a bigger wage, and a lot of that generation of player aren't, which is making it easier for them to be signed. But for him to go in and be a backup there really strengthens their squad for their European qualifiers. The next one is Brian Varmer, who's gone to Coleraine. They've not even got European football, and he's happy to go and join them for £1,000 a week as a regular starter. So I think that one of all the transfers is probably the best sign for the nation so far. We then get a few more youngsters and a couple of loans, but 3 first teamers at the bottom. Archie Whitehall out again to Oxford. He was there at the end of last season. I think he's basically going to be there the rest of his contract. David Aiken, I've taken a risk of loaning out to Accrington. We've developed his personality through mentoring. He now needs to get on the pitch. The last one is Sam McClelland, who's gone to TNS. Now, the part of him not going out was due to him being homegrown in the nation, but we've done a bit of a work in the transfer window this year to try and balance things between can we get the best players in some instances, and then can we get upgrades in homegrown players, but also bearing in mind that the homegrown qualification for the Champions League or the Europa or whatever else, the European sides, is different to the ones for the domestic league. So one of them you can have players that are homegrown 0 to 21 or 15 to 21. The other one you can only have 15 to 21. So taking McClelland out for someone else has actually worked out better. Now there are, I think, 11 players mentioned in full here. We've got 5 there and we've got 6 there, yeah. The other one is Gavin Reid, who we've managed to extend the loan off for another year. I tried to get him permanently. It wasn't to be. A few of these you already know about. A few of them were here last season. Most of them have been targets for the club before. We've made good additions across the board. So we've gone for the big upgrades. We've still got a few to get off the books, by the way. We cannot register everyone we've got at the moment. But let's start with the big hitters. Damien Jude came in January. Big impacts he made on the pitch. He's a very good midfielder. £3,500 a week. Star player on a 4-year contract. Definitely no doubt about him joining. We also mentioned, it always goes back to this year, doesn't it? Duncan McKenzie, 600 grand from Everton. Not just a good centre-half at first team level for us, but also now going to be homegrown at the club at the end of this season, which for the Champions League, for the league squad, it means he won't have to be registered, even when he's over 21. For the Champions League, he fills that quota. Brilliant signing for us. The next one after him, with £1 million gone already, Luke Smith returned from Southampton on loan. I didn't know what we were going to get at the time. And I'm also looking at him thinking, well, if we can keep getting him on loan, a bit like the Mackenzie one, he will become homegrown at the club as well. He's under 20, so he doesn't have to be registered for the league squad. And crucially, he is an England under 19 international, so he must have an awful lot of talent somewhere. The next three are definitely a bit more of a different shift. So Darren Mills is our big upgrade in terms of homegrown in the nation. He comes in as a centre-half option. This one basically allowed Harley Jones to go. He's 2-star by the nation, so we ignore these roles here. He's 3-star by our club standard, but he was on the brink of the Northern Ireland squad. Probably says more about that than it does about our club. But a very decent centre-half, an upgrade on what we've had in that area before. He's played his whole career in Northern Ireland. He is a bit short, which I'm not a massive fan of, but it does make sense for a player who's a fairly good pro. I'm definitely not arguing that. The next two at the bottom there are targets from the long term. We tried to sign them last summer and we've now managed to get them in. We've got Tommy Murphy from Salford for 150 grand. He is basically our competition and backup to Gavin Reid, which is a huge upgrade on Bobby Harvey, isn't it? Even if you look at last year where we were chucking centre-halves out, Puarte was covering there on occasion. I mean, this is a proper player we're talking about. This is a man who's got 150 FL appearances at 24. And it's someone who's happy to join us and be an impact sub. So really rock solid defender. Not the best going forward, but he's 6 foot. He's pretty good in the air. Doesn't mind covering centre half and loves being chucked up front late on. But overall, when we're looking at not just playing on Thursday nights, but what can we do then on the Sunday? Well, this guy's going to be brilliant. The problem we've got with our Europa League draw now is that if we then go out of that and don't get through to Thursday night group stage football, we're in big trouble with this squad because it is huge. Let's move further down now to Stephen Cowan, a big signing on the right wing from Forest Green. 275 grand, he's been a target for a long time. Not just the fact that he's an upgrade as a player, but he's got great natural fitness, which is something that we've got to be aware of when we're playing 2 or 3 games a week. And he again, as a regular EFL player in his career, is someone who is going to really add depth and quality to this squad. So when you consider that those last 2 signings might not be regular starters for us, I think that tells you how much better we've got this year. And I am quite excited and energised by the players we've got in, especially when you add these 5 to the mix at the start of this season. Because Ben Parry, we've talked about, we've had him before. He is a very good young player still. At 22, a natural left winger and attacking mid. Very solid pro, naturally fit. Struggled a bit with injuries last year, but on a free transfer, I think we can take the gamble. He's got a good personality, again, thanks to mentoring, and he's really versatile as well. So, I mean, what can we say? He's got experience at the club. He's a good player. I mean, there's quality there, and I'm surprised that he's not closer to the Wales squad because he looks a bit of a gem. The next one is a youngster we'd pre-agreed already in Paul Symington. I think he looks a little better than he's rated, if I'm being honest with you. He's a flair player, he's pretty good in the number 10 role, and he can cover a bit deeper if need be. Maybe not the fittest, maybe not anything technically outstanding, but as a breakthrough prospect with 2-star ability and 3.5 potential, a little bit of mentoring and a good loan deal, and I think he's alright. The problem at the minute, we can't get him out on loan anywhere that will play him as a first team regular. The next 3 though, we won't have that issue because 2 of them are loans we've bought in, and 1 of them is a homegrown sign-in. So you might recognise this next name on loan from Wolves, Max Whelan. We haven't seen a striker yet, so I think you know what's coming. But if you do vaguely recognise the name, it's because he was on loan at Larne the second half of last year, and I did briefly show you him. He's not a big upgrade in terms of quality of striker, but as we mentioned with Hatton, it's about having an upgrade that is the same style of striker. He's an exceptional finisher. He's great off the ball. He's got good composure. He anticipates pretty well. He's quick. He's okay in the air. And he's 5'10", you know, he's not tiny, but an under-21 international for Wales, a good wage contribution to Wolves, but I've got a feeling this guy's going to be a gem. He didn't actually get a lot of football for Larne. He had an injury when he came in, so hopefully he avoids that here. But he just strikes me as the Jonathan Hatton type, but maybe a little bit better on the ball. And to get that with an upgrade in quality, someone who's as good as a Morris Simpson, is absolutely brilliant. And if you consider a game we might need to chase, we are a goal down. We can now just chuck a proper 2 up front and have a target man in a Simpson with Whelan running off. and we've got a real combination there. The last two signings maybe not as spectacular, but still very good players. Matthew Hamilton is homegrown in the nation. He joins for 180 grand from St Pat's Athletic. He was then the reason the McClellan was allowed to go. 1.5 grand a week, resolute personality, very solid pro, and another player that we know we can rely on the big stage, which when we've got those stupid schedules with 3 games in 5 days, to bring in players like Cowan, Murphy and Hamilton, instead of, with respect to them, Harley Jones, Bobby Harvey and Sean Daniels, that might be the difference between second and first this year and some of those silly drop points. Let's move on to the final one though, because I just wanted to sprinkle a bit of gold dust in our central midfield area. It's one that's not gone through yet, but for about $500,000, we are going to lose Tom Robinson in this window. We're getting offers galore. I'm just working them up to the right amount. And Jordan Gash is the perfect replacement. Look at this kid. Not only is he natural in the Mazzala role at 3.5-star ability, technically very good, a brilliant passer of the ball, very good fitness, very good stamina, physically imposing, likes a shot from distance, a flair player and a great resolute personality. Take aside all of that, he can also play naturally in holding midfield, which again, if we go to a back three, if we decide we want to use a diamond one day, all of those things he fits into. It is a brilliant signing, and I couldn't believe my luck when he popped up for 2.5 grand a week of wage contribution. I was all over it, and very quickly too. I feel like he's my bit of icing on the cake. I feel it leaves us with an incredibly strong squad, and all we've got to do now is get rid of the 2 or 3 that are on the fringe. So, for example, we know Bobby Harvey's probably going to go. I might have to let John Lynch go just to meet the homegrown rulings. I'm going further down, Curtis Bell. Could it be the season for him? Quite possibly. The reason I haven't done it yet, and the reason I nearly fell out with the chairperson, which I alluded to at the start, is that he did a too good to refuse offer for Miles Stow as well. The good thing is this time, we were able to have a contest about it or protest the transfer. And thankfully he decided to back down in the end. I straight away offered him a new contract, which has got no release clause and has got an extra year on it. So I hope that we're going to start to get better offers for him, or that maybe at least I'll get to decide the player's fate. But we might need to resign ourselves to letting him go at some point. I'm moving into the midfield, as well as Robinson leaving. Puarte's probably going to go, and we'll try and loan out both Farrington and Simonson. Tennant Dykes will fall into that category too. And then maybe just 1 or 2 more if great offers come in. But in terms of the squad and the ability, and we have a look at the top end of it, there are a lot more standout players than we had previously. Oh, we got Paul Ray back as well, so it's 13 signings. I forgot to mention him as well. But I've got to quickly show you what's happening in the nation too, because albeit Linfield have won back-to-back titles, they had been quite quiet at the start of the window. They've now gone and signed Gwydion Brown from Barnsley, who is a good young Welsh defender. How much Welsh talent is coming into this league. And Ed Turns, an experienced but very good centre-half from Sheffield Wednesday. And guess what? He's a former Welsh under-21 international too. So Welsh player seems to be the market here. We mentioned that 2 players of ours have gone to Coleraine, 1 permanently, 1 on loan. Well, they've also signed 2 from Larne as well. So that quality is filtering down the division, with Larne sending a few players out. We've also got Coleraine getting a player in from Stockport. We've got Larne getting players on a free from Preston who are of a very similar level to what we've got. So I still wouldn't say we're a standout squad in the division, because there is a lot of quality across the board, but there is definitely a real strengthening of ours, and a few of the other clubs are backing that up now as well. So let's have a look at the season preview as it stands. Oh, that is the closest we have been to Linfield in here. You can see, looking at the Media Dream 11 though, we are definitely starting to catch up, particularly defensively. We've now got 4 of the back 5. But going forward, if some of those younger players improve while they're on loan or permanently, the likes of Gash, the likes of Cowan, the likes of Whelan up front too, is this the year where we're going to start to dominate the Dream 11 and maybe dominate the Irish Premiership? Because the board, they have said that we have got to... Hang on a minute. We were here last 2 episodes ago, weren't we? They said we had to win the league. Now they're saying qualify for the Europa League. So maybe that helps us that they've tempered expectation. It takes a bit of pressure off. But I'm not going to lie to you here. I want to get this one. We've got a very tricky tie to start off against Zoria. The Ukrainian league is not loaded in-game. But they've got some really decent players overall. They're a side that have done well. They're still pretty good in the coefficient. They're the highest ranked side of the sides we could have faced. but I still feel it's a winnable tie for us. And if we get through to the third qualifying round, we're all but there for group stage football, and that is the crucial bit for this season. So let's have a look at the fixtures and go through to our first leg. We've had some troubles with injuries and squad registration. I've no idea how the other Irish sides have been getting on. Should we go and have a look at the Conference League qualifiers and see how our sides have been getting on in the other competitions? So I'm pretty sure it was Warren Point who qualified. Let me just go and have a look at the teams. Warren Point got through. They are playing today, so they go straight to the second qualifier. The nation has been done a big favour here. They've had a quiet window though. Seems when a team gets into Europe, they just don't invest as much. Larne, of course, were third. Let's see who they've got. They have got a third qualifier in Europa Conference against, that's in Pat's Athletic. Could be an all-Ireland affair in that one. And Linfield, they are in Champions League qualifying again. 2-1 up after the first leg are home to Polish side Rakow. That was in front of 17,500 fans. And both strikers getting a goal again. They're adding real quality. So proud of what Northern Irish football's doing here. It's the first time I've ever done a Build a Nation where the AI has kept up throughout. So you've got to give them a bit of credit. 13,000 fans in here. We've got to make our decisions on the team. As you know, I often like to go fairly similar to start off with. So probably not too many new faces from the start today, but we'll bed them in before long. Don't you worry. Right, here's my plan for today then. We've made some changes more to the structure than we have the individual players because we made our tactical tweaks to the formation last year. Now it's more about tactical style. Although there's a few returning debutants today, there's only officially one in the starting lineup. It's probably one of the ones I didn't need to do in fairness, but let's have a look at the tactic first because what we've gone for is a few of the things that have been mentioned in the comments, and I've explained why we hadn't done them previously. But given the players we managed to get in this summer, I've got no excuse. So the likes of Cowan and Whelan and other players we've brought in attacking areas are so good moving. And we've got a lot of players who are good technically now as well. I feel we've got to pass into space where we can. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to pass longer. I'm talking about little balls inside the fullback, little through balls behind the defender. And it's something we've done with good success at other clubs before in other saves. So we're going to pass into space because we've got good players off the ball and very good passers and technical players who can now find those little gaps. We started working the ball into the box last season. With those two combined, I feel we could be good. And then we're also going to look at running at the defence a bit more because, again, we have got a lot of players who are physically superior to a lot of the opposition, particularly domestically in those cases. Out of possession, same thing again. Press a bit higher, prevent the short goalkeeper distribution. Let's get up the pitch a bit more. We've been stopping crosses for a while. That seems to have been working pretty well. It's what we can do in attack now. We've got to break teams down. The only individual formation change we've made is that we've now got two standard centre-halves on defend rather than a stopper and cover because that was there before to cover a lack of height in one defender and a lack of mobility in a whole defence. Whereas now, we've got four good defenders and I feel I should set up normally. So this is the team we've gone for to start off. It will drastically change as the weeks go on. We've got Neil Kane in goal, Reid and Raider fullbacks with Goss and McKenzie centre-half, Jude and Daly the midfield two. He is going to start the away leg ahead of Jordan Gash. He's only just come in and he's not fully fit yet. And then Cowan on the right, done experimenting in the middle with Parry out on the left-hand side, Morris Simpson through the middle. The reason I'm doing that is because I might, if it works really well and Dunn plays better as the number 10, I might then let Lewinson go, who we signed midway through last year. We've got to keep Griffiths because he's homegrown at the club. And I'd want to get a couple of these registered ideally. So for now, we're going to stick with it as it is, as close to last season's team as possible. A new tactical outlook. We've been working on the familiarity on the training ground. You can see it's already pretty good. So let's go and get into our away Europa League tie and see how we get on against Zoria. Well, it was just the 8 players that had to be given a squad number for today's game because it is a bit of a turnaround we've got here at Distillery. Zorya may be teasing us by playing the narrow diamond, a glimpse into the future of this save perhaps, not with the amount of good number 10s we're signing, but they've got a really decent side. I know they've only got the 6 subs because, again, as we mentioned, a non-loaded league, but let's just go and get into it. Hopefully this will be one we can take advantage. We might get the music, mightn't we, for the first time this season. Let's see if we can compete on the big stage. It's a big opportunity. The music isn't on today, so let's go and get through to it. The first half of the first leg against Zoria. We've seen this enough times now, but it's a good attendance, it's a good crowd, and we've got to get on top early. And here we are just a few minutes in, and this is what we want to see from this game. Playing higher up, keeping the ball at the back with a solid defensive line, as Jude tries to chip in behind. That is the risk, of course. If you try and pass into the space and play through narrow corridors, it can catch you out. And on the counter, we have almost been caught. It's over the bar from Zoria there. With 10 minutes gone, it remains 0-0. But we are playing a better football at the minute, just not creating the chances to go with it. Should we get the Conference League up, see how they're getting on? Who was it in action today? Warren Point, 1-0 down in the first minute. Excellent stuff. And if we go through to the Champions League, Linfield we know have won already. It's Reed. He's got the corner kick here. Chance to cross to the back post. Up goes Goss. Brilliant header from him. He's one that's getting linked to other clubs. There's a few offers coming in from sort of League One level. And if we get over $500,000, we might have to consider it now. But he is the man who has given us the lead in this tie. We're doing really well. We are 1-up. We're dominating the game too. We've got another corner here. Falls to McKenzie, who's missed from me hard. I'm not sure how he's not scored that. But we're starting to bombard their box. And I know today we might not be as ruthless because we're playing Simpson as the striker instead of Whelan, which is our future plan. But I want to make the changes gradually. And I'm looking at Daly and Simpson and thinking, well, you're probably not going to be first teamers for long. But look at the amount of chances we're creating. And a lot of good ones as well, based on the expected goals. 5 minutes to the break. We're away in Ukraine. And I tell you what, we're making this look pretty comfortable so far. As Cowan gets down the right. Definitely more dominance than normal. As we cut back to Daly. He crosses to Simpson. That's what he's in the team for. It's his bread and butter, but he heads it over. And that's not really good enough, if I'm being honest. At half-time, it remains 1-0 to Distillery. The performance is excellent. And when these new players, and I know they're returning new players, but FM doesn't really acknowledge that. Once they get settled in and they get the new patterns of play worked out, I feel this team are going to be sensational. Let's go and get into the second half. I'm not going to make any changes just yet. We'll give it 5 more minutes, then make our judgment. Well, it's a Zoria free kick, and this could be a concern after dominating the match to give away a goal. We deal with that set piece okay. Forced a poor header over the bar. And we've just got to get the second really to see this tie off, as Reed's got a throw on the right to Damien Dunn. He's not had his best game as the number 10, but Cowan's done well on the right. Daly goes back to Reed again. Has a runner down the line, but instead goes himself to the byline. Chance to cut back here to Daly. He's got support from Reed. Instead finds Cowan. Can drill it across the box here. Goes back to Reed. No one puts it in. Dunn shot saved and Parry can't get there. Oh, it's a glorious chance that. You've got to score when you're 3 or 4 yards out. And Ray has missed the opportunity. So a bit of a concern. We're definitely creating better chances. We're definitely creating more real goal scoring opportunities, but we're not taking them. So let's get young Max Whelan on, the man we've signed to solve this, and see if he's able to do anything. Dunn is going to come off as well. We're going to go for, I think maybe Morgan Griffiths. Or in fact, I'll push Daly forward and we'll bring on Jordan Gash because he is a proper upgrade in his position. Paul Ray's had an injury as well, but Stow's out too. So I'm just going to leave it at that for now. 10 more minutes, then we'll make some more. Well, we're now drifting into the territory of frustration because with 18 to go, our expected goals is up to 2.5. We're creating proper good chances and we're not taking them. And now Zoria are on the counter-attack. Shot goes in. Oh my God. We could not have played better in this game. And seriously, we've said this before. Neil Kane has got a lot going for him. He's one of the best players in the team on paper. He's homegrown in the nation. We're not going to get a better goalkeeper that's homegrown as well. And we can't really afford to lose a slot. But there is a point where that boy frustrates me. And I don't know what it is. He lets in so many cheap goals. And that one's from nothing. How on earth are we not winning this game now? Cowan's going to come off on the right-hand side. We're going to chuck out, I think, Dermot Lafferty as an inverted winger there. Just want to have a little bit of a change of plan. And hopefully getting an extra man in the box will help. Neil Daly will be replaced by the big game man himself, Morgan Griffiths. And then at the back, Paul Ray, I've not got the sub. So I'm going to have to stick with 4 for now. Let's leave it for 5 more minutes. We have got such good stats in this game. We have created glorious chances. And I don't know how we're not scoring them because we're working it into the box. We're creating good ones. And you've seen some of the highlights. We've got ourselves 4 or 5 yards out in front of goal. And not taking it as Whelan gets into the box. Back to Reed. Blocked to him again. It's gone wide. It's deflected off the defender. I mean, great to see the right back getting up there in support, but you've got to take those chances, man. Seriously. As Reed puts the corner in himself to the back post, Mackenzie gets it away. And for all this dominance, after 82 minutes, we've only scored from a corner. Tommy Murphy's going to come on for a debut at right back. That's the final sub. We're freshening it up. But how many chances can you create? We've got Ray on the left with a throw-in to Parry. I know it's going to take 2 months to settle this tactic, but still, you'd be very frustrated if we draw this. Even worse if we lost it. But Goss wins it back for Jude. Morgan Griffiths on. He's often the hero in this save. Finds Murphy. Back across to Whelan. Was he onside? I'm waiting. That is what that man was signed for. Get in the 6-yard box and finish chances that are inevitably going to come. That's what we wanted. Expected goals of almost 4 now. But Whelan's on. He's had one good chance and he's taken it. Tommy Murphy, the sub right back, up in the box supporting it across goal. Exactly what we wanted to see. Lafferty gets it back to Murphy. Looks for that ball into space for Lafferty. That is the tactic coming to fruition. And now I can rest easier. We've got what we deserve from this game now. Murphy on with 2 assists in 5 minutes. He might need to get a shout at first teamer. But Lafferty cuts in from the right and scores it. It's a fabulous goal. It's been a brilliant performance. And if it wasn't for Neil Kane dropping one in his net, this would now probably be the perfect night. My frustration is I look at it and say, how have we not scored 4, 5 and 6? But that should come in time. And maybe I need to abandon what I normally do, which is slowly bedding in these new signings. And maybe admit that, particularly in Whelan's case, yeah, he just needs to start up front. Well, defenders made a hash of that for Zoria. Big ball downfield, but a 3-1 away win, it should send us through on the tie. I can't imagine we'll mess this up at home. As Parry gets the ball on the left. And I'm hoping that's where we're going to be stronger now. I'm hoping this tactic will make us better at home too. As Ray goes over to Parry, chance to make it 4, put it beyond all doubt, and Ben Parry's put it just wide. Another glorious one-on-one chance goes begging, but it's a 3-1 win. It is an absolutely brilliant performance, probably one of the best we've had as manager, and albeit against fairly average opposition, we've got ourselves into a brilliant position. So that should be this tie over. Let's go and see when we're going to be back. Well, as you can see from the stats here, just a phenomenal performance in our first European outing of the season. Maybe should have had a goal or 2 more, but perhaps that's my fault for not starting Murphy and Whelan, who were brilliant off the bench. Not sure what they're talking about Reed after that performance. Did he get player of the match? Even when Murphy got 2 assists off the bench, that does seem a little bit odd. I should mention as well Warren Point. They came back to get a draw. They're still in their tight, so fair play to them. But we are going to be back, I think, for the first leg of the 3rd qualifying round. We're 2 wins away from guaranteeing group stage football, which we need after this level of investment. And that leg away at Zoria, one of our finest performances yet. If you want to stay up to date and see how the rest of the season goes, then subscribe and turn that notification bell on. Maybe it's going to be the year we can start to dominate Northern Irish football. But the other side so far in the transfer window are trying their best to keep up. In the meantime, we'll be back with the head coach tomorrow. A big finish to the season to come in that one. A really enjoyable first year back in club football there. And we'll be back here in 2 days' time with more action. As this episode comes out, I am at Wembley Stadium for the Championship playoff final. Wish me luck with Luton Town. There might be some clips later in the evening if things have gone to plan. And if they have, you can come and say hello to me on Twitch tomorrow. That link will be up in the eye above. Come and follow us there if you haven't before. There's also a link to the football podcast where you will see plenty of clips and playoff predictions. And I'll see you back here next time for a big European tie as we edge closer to the group stages again.